when you hear the phrase, "when I grow up." And because I know that some of you will be thinking about it, no, I'm not making reference to that famous song by the pop group that came out in 2008, "When I Grow Up." I want you to take a moment, do this with me, okay? Close your eyes and think back to when you were a child. When you looked at the adults aspiring to be like them someday. What was it that you always wanted to achieve in your life? What were you really passionate about? What did you want to change about the world? Hold on to that thought as you open your eyes and come back to how you're actually spending your present day, because it will become apparent why I asked you this question. A couple of years ago, I had an idea. It was an idea that stemmed out of my desire to change the world. And the idea was called How You Make a Difference. Up until this point, I had received a lot of positive reinforcement about my ideas. As children, we are told that we can do anything. As students, we are encouraged to be ambitious and to change the world for the better. But for some reason, this positive reinforcement starts to fade away at some point in life. This time was different. I started to spend more time around people who made me change my beliefs. And one of these people, let's just call him Mr. Cynical, made me doubt my abilities. Mr. Cynical scoffed at my passion to make a difference and said that, "Gunita, you should do something that you're actually capable of." I was creative, so I would have a better shot at becoming an artist. But if I were really so keen to make a difference, then I should just join a charity. I was a little taken aback by the words of Mr. Cynical, but I decided to keep going anyways, to keep pursuing my idea. So I went ahead with it, and I failed. And it wasn't just a normal failure. The failure was compounded by the power of Mr. Cynical's words, and the points up until now when things hadn't really gone as I'd expected. And a confluence of factors led to a point in time when I felt completely demotivated and disillusioned, as though I'd lost my ambition to make a difference. Fast forward to today, and I'm the CEO and founder of Showcased, a tech startup that does exactly what I was trying to do with How You Make a Difference. It connects you to people who share a common passion, so that you can help each other do more of the things that matter in your life. I also give speeches encouraging people to change their mindset, to overcome the barriers that they're facing, and to follow their passion. So if you think that I'm here for another one of those talks by those aspiring Silicon Valley startups who are trying to create the next big thing, then I will encourage you to think again. The stories that you hear and the movies that you watch on TV, they make it seem as though it's really easy to follow your passion and to make your dreams come true. And obviously this isn't something that just applies to startups. We all have something that we've always wanted to do. This could be your desire to change the world, to make a difference in your local community, or even a passion to get involved with local politics. We all have our own passion and our own dreams, but the truth is that these dreams, they don't always come true. And the reason they don't come true is not because you cannot make them come true, but rather because the journey to making this happen is sprinkled with setbacks. Turning points along the way at which you can either feel let down by your failure or recognize that this is all part of a process. A process of 2 steps forward and 1 step back. Difference started off as an idea for an inspirational tech platform. But after the first failure, for a long time, I was stuck on that one step back because I was afraid to fail and fall again. The problem with fear is that sometimes it can be enough to stop us from dreaming. If we let fear define us, then our problems will be all that we see. In moments like this, you need to have some faith. Believe in something that will make it happen. Be it destiny, the future, or even TED Talks. You also need to recognize that even if it seems impossible to pursue your passion at this point in time, you can always focus on the next best thing. So maybe you can't be the first man on the moon, but you can still get involved with your local planetarium, right? And sometimes that next best thing can turn into something even better. I focus my attention on taking 2 steps forward by teaching myself how to code. So I taught myself the basics of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, basically anything I could find on those free online tutorials. And I also enrolled in a product management course to learn about what people in the startup world like to call creating a minimum viable product. It was during this course that I had to take one step back, when I realized that the idea I had envisioned, it would take a whole team of skilled developers working for months to make it happen. And I didn't have a whole team of skilled developers in my surroundings who could help me with this. Not ready to give up, I took another 2 steps forward. By seeking out volunteers, I really had to put myself out there, to go beyond my immediate network and find people who could help me make this happen. I also started to develop the idea into a plan for how to make this into a real tech startup. And it was during this process that I realized why so many tech startups failed so quickly. Web development takes much longer than you'd expect. And if you don't have the resources to innovate quickly enough, you will set yourself up for rapid failure. My next step back was long and protracted, because none of the volunteers that I brought on board were able to develop this product. And one of the most promising of these volunteers, who said that he would be able to build this out in 6 weeks' time, it turns out that 6 months later, we had less than 2 days' worth of usable code. We had to scrap our whole idea and start from scratch. The words of Mr. Cynical came back to haunt me. Gunita, you should do something that you're actually capable of. But this time, I had learned to look for the hidden opportunities in failure. In preparation for the launch of the startup, I had lined up a series of events where I was going to be giving talks. And when the app wasn't ready, I had to improvise with a speech about the startup journey. And during this process, I discovered that I actually really enjoy public speaking because it gives you an opportunity to inspire a large audience to do something, to create change. So I took another 2 steps forward by getting involved in my local public speaking club and taking part in competitions. I was encouraged to take part in the international speech contest, which I did. And to my surprise, I came first at the first level. So I went on to the next level, and I also came first there. And then I really started to imagine big things, making it all the way to the World Championship of Public Speaking. Another thought which was crushed during the terrible defeat that I had before the qualifying rounds of the UK semifinals. This time, the words of Mr. Cynical did not come back to haunt me. I recognized that the failure, although it was disappointing, had helped me become a more comfortable speaker. And this defeat also gave me an opportunity to focus my attention back on the startup, which I did. And yesterday, after over 1 year of delays with creating this app, we finally launched our app on the App Store. by 1 month app, you will be able to see it and test it out for yourself. It's the app that enables you to follow your passion. If there's one thing I've learned from this process, it is that life is never a straight path to the top. On your journey to following your passion, you will have your own 2 steps forward and 1 step back. But taking that step back is actually what propels you to keep moving forward. This is why conventional wisdom tells us to take a step back and see the bigger picture. No one would see the bigger picture if they kept stepping forward. The other thing that I've learned is that people reinforce the beliefs that you hold about yourself. On your journey to following your passion, you will find many people, many Mr. Cynicals, who may make you doubt your abilities. These could be people at school, at university, or even at work. And the problem with a lot of social networks these days is that they heighten the influence of the Mr. Cynical by making us obsessed with what people like and say about us. But there are also the other kind of networks, ones that connect you to people who share a common passion, people who support what you are doing and who think that it is cool, people who can help you keep moving forward. So when I went beyond my immediate network, I discovered there was a world full of people out there who shared a common passion. Some of whom were already taking the plunge and were ready to face the failures along the way. People who had brought on board our team to make it happen together. And that was why, when we built Showcased, we built something that would empower each and every one of you to do exactly as I did. To follow your passion and find people, not necessarily in your immediate network, but people who could help you make it happen. We have a range of people in the audience today. Some of you are young students who are preparing to enter the real world. Others are seasoned professionals. Some of you are already doing what you love, and others are still trying to figure it out. We all have our own passion, our own dreams, and our own paths that we've taken since. But we also all have one thing in common. Just one life. No one really knows when their last day on this world will be. I don't mean to sound morbid, but imagine this. Tomorrow is your last day to live. Tomorrow, at the end of your life, when you say goodbye to all of the heartaches, to all of the headaches, but also to all of the good days. When you look back on your life, what do you want to look back on? The answer that comes to your mind is what you should be doing today. Remember what I said at the beginning about what you always wanted to do when you grow up? When I was a child, I used to close my eyes and envision my version of harmony. People around the world collaborating together on things that they cared about. I believe really strongly that someday I would be in front of a large audience, encouraging them to live their dreams. Today, my dream came true. Ladies and gentlemen, when you leave the room today, you too will start to live your dreams. And as you do, as you face that first setback, you may remember this talk, but you will definitely remember that with every story of living your dreams, there's always a real story. 2 steps forward and 1 step back.